Yes, sir.
I call this meeting of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners to order. It's November the 3rd, 2025, 4:02. Appreciate everybody coming. We ask you to silence your devices so that we can go without as many interruptions as possible. I've asked Commissioner Thomas to lead our minds in prayer, and I've asked Commissioner Martin to lead us in the flag. So if you'll stand, we'll get started.
Let us pray. Lord, we come to you today and we thank you for everything you've done for us, done for this county. We ask you to be with the sick and the poor and people who's lost loved ones. We ask you to give us shortfalls in life. And we ask you to be with us during this meeting and give us knowledge and understanding and make good decisions. Be with our law enforcement, military, and firemen. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Dress the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, before you get started with the remaining part of the agenda, Commissioner Langford, Commissioner Sharon Langford, called me today, and due to some personal medical issues, she's not going to be here today. So.
Okay. Remembering in our prayers.
Yep.
Okay, is there any agenda changes? Mr. Bobby?
I have none.
I just got one little announcement I'm gonna make during my report, but it's just about an upcoming event.
Okay, okay, Mr. Todd?
None today, sir.
Motion approved the agenda.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Thomas and a second by Commissioner Martin to we approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Everyone had a chance to look at the consent agenda.
Yeah, motion to approve the consent agenda?
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Martin to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Public participation. Oh, yeah. Public participation. Anybody like to address the board at this time? You have an opportunity now, you'll have one at the end of the meeting. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to our constitutional officers. I don't see any of them either. So we'll move to the county administrator.
Yes, sir. Today, my first item starts on page 2. Item number 6 under the road department. Recently, you had approved the purchase of a CAT skid steer. This is a lease agreement. This agreement has been reviewed by Mr. Lane. The amount of the agreement is $24,666.96. That's an annual payment for 5 years. There is a buyout option at the end of that. None of that has to be decided today. That'd be decided at the end of that. This has already been delivered as well too. So
Motion approved the lease agreement.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Thomas and a second by Commissioner Smith to approve the lease agreement for the Caterpillar skid steer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
the next item that I have is with asphalt paving systems. We'd need to bring back a contract. This is just really approving whether you want us to move forward or not. We have been talking for some time about chipping and sealing some of our roads for a period of time. We have worked on and have those roads. This is just approval for those roads. I did reach out to Asphalt Paving System, which we have an agreement with. The amount for these roads is roughly 5.2, 5.3 miles. It's $492,734.96. We actually have we budgeted $500,000 this year. So at this point, it's just to move forward with these roads. It's Northwest 5th Avenue, Southwest 10th Street, Southeast 80th Street, Southeast 80th Avenue, and Southwest 70th Street. Some of these are just a portion of those roads. And some of them are the complete section of the road. But that is that. One thing I would tell the board, I believe we did budget $500,000 but it may be a good idea, if we're gonna move forward with this. Not sure if it'll take it or not, but I always hate to go into any job without some type of contingency, because for the unknowns. So we may wanna plan on roughly a 10% contingency, just in case something was an unknown factor that we ran into, on this. But, that would just be my suggestion, is if we are gonna move forward, let's, we bring back a contract for this amount of the 492, but let's plan on having roughly a $50,000 contingency.
Would an increase, require a budget amendment or,
Yes, it would.
okay. Can we, there's not any funds in the road department existing budget we could use, Bobby?
It's not in the road department.
Capital, okay.
And I wouldn't suggest making a budget amendment unless you have to. You may not have to. What I'm just trying to say is, if we need additional funding, we will, but that would come back to the board, of course, but, don't know of any issues we may have, but,
You're kind of saying be prepared. Okay? So
Right.
a little bit over. Let's don't stop the project because we're a little bit over.
I wouldn't recommend doing a budget amendment now. I wouldn't do it unless we needed it, but at least the board would know that we're not coming back with a surprise or something.
All right, so we need to put that in the motion so that, everybody knows, or if it's quoted, does he have to do a business? No? Okay. All right, then I'll make a motion to say, as needed, budget amendment as. Okay, I move to approve the chip and seal quote, with, added 10% as needed addition to the fund. That was budget fund. Yes. Okay.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Thomas. Bobby, I'd like to kind of explain to the public a little bit about how we pick those roads, because everybody's probably going to want to know how we done it. I know you met with each commissioner and we tried to pick a road in our district. One that had a lot of maintenance, one that had a lot of complaints, one that caused us problems, probably the most trouble road we had in each district. And I know in Sharon District, 80th is obviously the one that she had the most trouble with, so we all aware of that. But just to let the public know, how do you pick a road? You gotta pick one, so you just come up with some criteria, which road am I gonna do? So we tried to pick one that we thought would be a good candidate, but not only that, within the range and the budget of what we wanted to do, and take it off of the maintenance, because once we get it on there, it won't require near as maintenance and the grading and all that. So I think it worked out pretty good myself.
Well, and I think the other thing to state, if funds allow. I mean,
Yeah.
It's always based on funding, but this is something y'all plan to do again next year.
Yeah.
Maybe do it another 5 miles.
Hope we can double it. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, the other thought was, with the 500,000, I don't know if we actually discussed it and decided on it, but my original thought was, okay, that's about a mile per district. We have 5 districts. I know Commissioner Thomas, you kind of said, well, we recently had a paved road in my district. Y'all divided up, and, so that's kind of where we ended up, I think. But all of us have at least 3 or 4 high maintenance graded roads in our district, and hopefully, next year, if it works and, it looks like we're satisfied with what we have, we'll be able to do another 5 miles. And eventually, we get all of those 3 or 4 high maintenance roads in our district. So,
That would be our hope. And I appreciate your surrender, Mr. Thomas.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I figured we got Gay Road paved, we got Dixie Grade on the docket. I've been blessed in my district, me and Tommy shared a lot that district.
Yeah. It'll be good to get it done. Do something different. Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Maybe the public, I don't know if anybody in the public.
Anybody in the public gonna speak? Yes, sir.
I'm Mike Holbrook, I live on Southwest 10th Street. And, my thoughts were, that's obviously another busy road, and I know all the roads are busy, and they all paved, and all of them. But we do go to the boat landing. We've been put in before for the scrap program and it didn't work because we didn't go from a paved road to a paved road. But having the boat ramp down there, it's a much traffic road with a lot of fishermen and of course we have a lot of, farm equipment coming down there too. So we do get a nice, the guy who was paving those, grading those, doing a wonderful job. Much better than we've had in many, many years.
Right.
But we're still getting a lot of overgrowth on the sides. As soon as it's paved, it rains and then the trucks come down and they knock the mud out. And we're back to the same holes and the same runoff on the road. And, to be honest, we've had some, people in our area that did a lot of maintenance on that road themselves.
Yeah.
And you probably know who I'm talking about, but, he used to be an alligator farmer.
Right.
So I would just think that it would make a lot more sense to do the whole 2 miles of Southwest End and get it done with, instead of having to do 1 mile and then come back in a year or two and do the second mile. So I just put that out for discussion and,
Okay.
I don't know how that can be done, if it can be reallocated or not, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Next item I have is under emergency management. Actually, at our last meeting, you approved the EMPG. The grant, the state made a mistake on the funding. The funding that we approved was $47,888. It should have been $48,564.47. So we just need an approval on the new amount of $48,564.47. That's an additional amount of $676.47.
Yeah, motion to approve the, EMPG grant.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Martin to approve the, EMPG grant, basically just redo it, if you wanna call it that. Up it a little bit. Is there any more discussion?
And this is really one of the 2 main grants that funds emergency management for the county, right?
Yes. Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Next item is under fire rescue. We received a grant for purchasing called a top clean scab and PPE multi-washer decon unit. Fire equipment is supposed to be washed at least twice a year. It gets washed more than that, but it washed differently, but through a decon unit. Chief Campbell wrote a grant for this unit. The amount of the unit to purchase the unit is $47,500. The grant is $34,575. There is a required match. The county's match will be $12,925. This is 100% out of fire, and we did budget funding for that additional amount in the budget this year. So that is what, and if you'll notice, there is the invoices in here from NAFCO. So if you, with approving of this, it'll be also approving purchasing it from NAFCO, because that's where the state grant committee reviewed the invoice and made it part of the actual grant. So they've approved purchasing from NAFCO.
Is this a big, piece of equipment that would actually need where are you gonna mount this, or where are you gonna put this? In your building, or are you gonna have to put an additional slab with a shed over it, or what's that? Cause if it costs $50,000, it's not a Maytag washing machine.
Chief Campbell Fire Rescue, it is not a Maytag washing machine. We have the room in the EOC currently. It's gonna take about a 4x4 space. We'll have to add some plumbing and, some electrical through there, but, the EOC is accustomed to that over there. We can add that pretty simple. Just something to, after every fire, we're supposed to decon this equipment, supposed to have it done professionally a couple times a year. We struggle to meet that mark because I have to send it off.
Is it something you can just hang the equipment up in there and
Yes, sir. Have you seen the easiest way I can describe it is in the back of the restaurant, the big, dishwasher machines?
yeah.
You slide the tray in and put the sides down. That's essentially the same thing, but for air pack, boots, masks, and it's rated for the fire service, so, you know, we meet our NFPA qualifications on that.
James, I appreciate you doing the grant.
Yeah.
You and others do a lot on getting grants and being successful. If we don't do this, the alternative is, you said, send it somewhere else, or,
Yes, sir, and it's not feasible for us to send our equipment out. The other option is if we were to buy additional equipment, to trade that stuff out so we could send something out, and then you have the cost of, I honestly, I'm not even looking into the cost of shipping it out and, having it done, but one air pack is $8,000. So, and typically if we have 6 people wearing air packs on a call plus every bottle, that's gonna add up pretty fast.
Yeah.
We don't do it. We decon it the best we can, but the state is getting more and more strict on it for these cancer initiatives and whatnot. And that's why we're having to switch to a different kind of gear. And then everything we have now, we have to be able to decontaminate it after every call.
Just a thought, if this equipment is so expensive, is it something where, Lafayette or Dixie, if they needed their stuff cleaned, could come in and use this apparatus and pay us, you know, a small fee or whatever the fee would be for the use of the machine? Is that?
I hadn't really looked into a fee schedule for anything, but in my mind, our municipal departments that we already contract with, if they needed a decon, they could use this machine and they would just be responsible for the cleaning supplies. I don't see us generating a revenue out of that. I really don't want to turn it into a,
No, I don't think so.
now, if they want to come and wash their stuff and they want to buy their own, soaps, I have no problem with them doing that. In fact, I would encourage it. But just like for the city of Fanning Springs, they now have their machine that fills their own air bottles. It just taken us a long time to get it, so they can apply for this same grant, and get one for their station, but meanwhile, they can use ours.
I move to approve the fire rescue grant for the washing equipment.
Okay. Do I have a second?
second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Smith to approve the grant agreement for the, power washer, if that's what you wanna call it, for the fire department. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you, sir, and thank you for doing the grant.
Are you ready to order this, or? I think the board would need to go ahead and approve the purchase of the item.
You don't think it's part of the contract with it being in here?
I don't really, I mean, basically it just shows the grant. I mean, I think they need to approve the purchase, under NAFCO and,
But the board would like to approve purchasing the, equipment from NAFCO at amount of $47,500.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve the purchase of the equipment.
That work, Mr. Newt?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
All right, thank you.
Sheriff, hold on just a second, Bart. Sheriff, I already passed constitutional officer, did you? Okay. Okay. I didn't wanna, you come in after I said it, I didn't wanna overlook it. Go ahead, Bobby.
The next item on my agenda is the Jenny Springs agreement. This agreement was between, of course, Jenny Springs Outdoors and the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners, BOCC. Mr. Lane and myself attended several meetings with Ms. Patrice Boyce and Ms. Marino as well. They worked with the attorneys for Jenny Springs. They have came up with, we've been working on this now for probably a year and a half, I would say, guessing. And they have came up with what we consider, a very good agreement, for the county and for Jenny Springs. I know I sent it out earlier in the week. If we can, does anybody have any particular questions on it? And Mr. Lane, gonna double team this and help us go through it as well too.
Well, I think at this point, you didn't have an agreement before. You had a special exception that had been granted back in 1991. which really didn't have a lot of, foundation to it as far as what you could or could not do. And of course, they had the unfortunate incident that occurred out there that kind of got their mindset on a different track as well. Hopefully they're, going to, turn to a more family-friendly type, usage out there. And we had, Ms. Frances Marino, who is a professional, planner, as well as Ms. Patrice Boyce, who's done work with us as well. And then Miss Emily Pierce with the, Rogers Tower Law Firm that represents Jenny. Bobby and myself met on numerous occasions to try to hammer out an agreement that seemed to accomplish a lot of things that the neighborhood seemed to want, as well as what the county was striving for as well. We have some teeth in this thing as far as quiet time after 12 midnight. Can't bring your own equipment out there and set up, concerts and that sort of thing. It all has to be done through the park itself. We've established some designated parking areas, when the park is actually full, which we didn't have quite before. You know, you'll recall that cars would back out to the highway and up 340 and that sort of thing. Now they have 2 designated lots that is shown with the attached agreement. So I think overall, there's just a lot of, now there's some rules that we can kind of go back to if there's a violation, and they then know what the board's going to expect out of them as well. So I think it's kind of a two-way street. But with that being said, I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you might have about the agreement. But like I say, I think we might have started this November of last, well, I think one of the representatives from Jenny was here in November. We probably started a little bit earlier than that, to be honest with you. So Bobby's probably right. It's over a year we've been working on this agreement.
I'm glad to see that we have this document. This year, I had no complaints about Jenny. I didn't know of any other commissioners or if anybody else in the community complained this year, but I didn't hear of any of it. Was there any complaints this year?
I didn't receive any. I'm sure there was probably a few complaints, but, not to put him on the spot, the sheriff may be able to speak a little bit more.
You have a lot of calls on it, Jenny?
But if there were any complaints, I think the biggest issue, and I think he would agree with me on this, was trespassing, but Jenny was initiating those complaints of trespass. So it wasn't like citizens were making the call. It was more that, you know, I heard of some incidents, people came in, they told them the new rules. They said, we're not gonna do that, we're gonna act like we used to. They trespassed. And, I apologize for putting you on the spot, but that was the biggest thing I heard.
It's not a problem. Bobby Schultz, Sheriff. Hats off to Gene Springs Outdoors. It's been the past year, so I think things have, certainly headed in the right direction. As far as the amount of calls we had, I don't have the numbers on me. But cursory review, I would agree with Mr. Crosby. We haven't had the issue that we normally had out there. Certainly the things that they put in place seem to be working. Consistency will be the key here. I have no reason to doubt that it won't continue going on, that this agreement that the board, they're into with the board, I guess, done with their expectations seems to be working. So as far as, I mean, I'd be lying if I said we don't have issues out there, but it's nothing compared to what it was. So again, Gene Springs Outdoors have done everything that they said they were going to do, it appears. And, I would agree with Ms. Crosby's assessment, things are much better.
Awesome. Glad to hear that.
I think Chief Kemp can speak on the transports, because we used to have a lot of medical calls too.
Chief Kevin again. Back in our 2024 season was a very bad year over there. We always staffed emergency personnel up there. 2025, when we staffed emergency personnel, we ran 3 calls inside of that park for the entire Memorial Day weekend. One of those was on a Friday night that actually had to do with somebody who had ingested something or drank too much, and the other 2 calls were literally, one of us was a family playing around and caught dad's rib the wrong way, needed to go to the hospital. But it was families, it was a lot of stuff out there. 7 or 8 o'clock on Friday evening, we rode the backside of the park just to check it. No music, no offensive. They took down all the offensive banners, they spread everybody out. It was a very different Jenny Springs than I've ever seen out there on a Memorial Day. I haven't been out there since because we've not had many calls. Our call load has dropped significantly. But that Memorial Day weekend, we ran 3 calls.
And that was a big issue too that we were trying to address in the negotiations, were the sound, the disruption over at Spring Ridge, that sort of thing. Have central control where campers and groups of people didn't bring their own sound systems in, and you had them all competing, and you could hear them over at Tommy's house, that far. So, and I think they've made a lot of headway with that.
They have.
That last Memorial Day, I mean, I know they had several law enforcement calls, more of, hey, we want these people trespassed. And of course, as soon as the cars start showing up, these people decided they wanted to leave on their own. But, I stayed out there from Friday evening until Monday evening where our crew set up, and I didn't leave that park. We had, again, it was pointless for us to be out there. Of course, they pay us to be out there for those times, but I don't think we'll even have to do that this next year.
Awesome. Well, good to hear that things have straightened up, because that has become a black eye in our county, and, well, I'm glad to hear that. With that,
Yeah, I sat down with Taylor and Megan, about 3 weeks ago and discussed, all the changes they've made. And, the neighborhood calls has pretty much went away, which was great. The loud music has pretty much went away, which is great. They do have a good plan. This is a good, agreement they have here. I talked about the things in the past. I talked about things they're doing now. It is a lot more family oriented. Got a lot of positive things. Most every one of them is positive. And we talked about the future, some of their future plans and stuff. So I think they're doing a fantastic job. The only question I would have on this is do we need this kind of agreement? For one thing, you do your job, I'll do my job. This is with a private entity, okay? I'd hate to open the door for everybody to say, hey, I want y'all to be my partner, I want y'all to be my partner, I want y'all to be my partner. This is county versus private entity. If we put our name on it and join hands with them, is there any kind of liability if something did happen out there? Is they're gonna say, well, the Board of County Commissioners signed off on this, so they're
We have none of the management responsibility under the agreement. We're getting some ground rules that they've agreed to adhere to, without the county trying to force them to adhere to certain rules.
It's more of an MOU than anything.
That is correct. That is correct. And if they by chance did not live up to what they have agreed to in this right here, then there's some leverage that the county can exert as far as the special use permit situation that we could possibly get them to do some different things at that point. But we would hope we don't have to go back to that standard. This right here, they know what the county expects of them, and we know what we expect of Jenny. So hopefully, with the negotiations that have been put in place and the idea that it's going to revert to a family-friendly format rather than a party venue, hopefully we'll continue to see more and more improvements in the.
Well, they also have their own security
That's correct.
people and everything now, so
That's
they
correct.
don't rely so much on our sheriff's department to do most of their work. They have their own thing there. They have their signs posted up. They have, they've made some, like I said, a lot of major changes, but there again, my question is, let's just say they have a major incident like they've had in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Could they drag us into court?
Well, you can always be dragged into court, but what I'm saying is that we have structured this in such a way that they are responsible for all the internal management and adherence to the rules and that sort of thing that they've agreed to here. We've agreed that we like those rules. It's more of a memorandum of understanding.
Mr. Lang, I see even in number 6, related to liability, that you or somebody representing us got them to acknowledge that we shall not have liability related to a lot of these things. So I think it's basically put something in place that, as you say, if something ever changed, we have a document that says we have no liability.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's exactly right. At number 6, it's their duty to maintain a safe and secure environment in accordance with the rules that they have agreed to follow, that we've agreed to.
Thank you for all the work.
I do appreciate all the work, because I know y'all.
It was a lot of work, but it was necessary and it was needed, and all these years have transpired without having any kind of memorialization of what is expected out there. And at least this is a start. This is a set
Well,
of rules.
The girls were fantastic to talk to, and they are definitely, trying to do the right.
They've been very, very cooperative.
They are definitely doing their best to make it the kind of place that Gilchrist County would want. I just wanna make sure that we're not held accountable or anything like that, and this is just more of a.
We try to prevent that, Mr. Langford. But as I said, you can't totally prevent something like that.
No, but I understand that, it even says in here that the purpose of, the whole goal of the Board of County Commissioners is public safety.
That's right.
And that was the biggest issue in the past, is it was not public safety. And, it had got out of control and it was time to do something. And like I said, the neighborhood complaints, I've had zero. Zero. And I know they said that they got some bad publicity on the internet because they wouldn't allow people to do what they've done in the past, okay? You can't even bring DJ material, you can't set up your own music box, and you can't set up your own band, and you can't do a lot of things they were doing wrong and causing the problems. So I see a lot of good in it. And they've, like I said, they've changed a lot of things. I just want them to keep going in that direction, and I think they will be.
One thing that we tried to do that it manifests itself in this agreement, Bobby and I wanted to see exactly what occurred through Memorial Day, through the 4th of July, to see what kind of complaints came out of that with this new set of rules. And as Bobby said, virtually none.
Yep.
No calls, no problems, no issues that we had to try to, put fire out on them. So
And I went and talked to them right after Labor Day, and because they had just been through three major holidays.
that's right.
And they really didn't have no issue. They lost some people, but they gained some people, and I told them they would. I said, you'll lose the troublemakers, but you'll gain a lot of family-oriented people that wants to come down and enjoy Gilchrist County and Georgia Springs, and I think that's.
So I think it's a good start.
Then I move to approve the Jenny Springs agreement.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Smith, to approve the agreement with Jenny Springs, the MAU. Is there any more discussion? I'd like to ask the sheriff, Bobby, have you looked at this? I mean, you're gonna, if there's trouble out there, you're gonna be the one to get the first call. They ain't gonna call me.
Me
they
or
ain't
Chief
gonna call
Campbell
me.
for sure. I have not read it in the entirety.
I don't wanna put you on the spot or all that, cause
Well,
I'm just
I
saying,
just say, and
you're gonna get the call, not me.
yeah, I mean, it's like everything else in this world, you're looking forward to something that you don't know. Like I said, I stand on the fact that things are a lot better than they were. Consistency will show, I mean, and I have no reason to believe that they're not gonna continue moving in a family-friendly,
They are.
which is up to them. That's not coming from the sheriff or the county board. I'm not entering into anything. They've asked me to sign an agreement with them. I'm not going to because it doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever.
You're just gonna uphold the law.
Yeah, you know that there were some things that we requested that they weren't able or wanted to provide for me to give them an accurate assessment on law enforcement capabilities, and that's up to them. The county, they do their thing and I gotta do mine. If there's ever any issues, we'll take care of it. If there's, I stay in contact with Mr. Crosby quite regular on things like this right here. If I see anything that's needs the county's attention that we need to address, and even before I even say anything to him, he'll know about it.
Right.
But, as far as looking at all the nuances, for the lack of better words, it's none of my business, other than the fact that we provide safety. And, they've got security out there. What that security is, I don't know. They provide certain amenities out there. I don't know. But whatever they're doing seems to be working. So I'm not gonna look to get forward from that.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, I just, I guess what bugs me is if we do it with this, are we gonna be asked by anybody else to do the same thing?
Well, I think what you really got here is if they came in today from the last several years asking for a special use permit, you're gonna have what's in here for the most part. And that's the part you didn't have from one that was done in 1991, and that's what you didn't have. So that's why we feel so good about this agreement, because the things that are in this agreement are what would be typically in an SUP if somebody came in here and applied for a business, when we went through the one on the campground, if you remember, we put condition after condition after condition and asked for a lot of the things that are in here is what we asked for in the other one. So really what we have here is just, it's really the language of the SUP coming 20 years later.
Yeah.
You know, kind of deal. So
Well-
that's where you're at with this document right now. We've got a site plan now, a current site plan, so we know how they're gonna operate. We require a site plan for a business. Anybody that comes in,
And what we had was even tightened up because we didn't have designated parking places
That's
on
right.
the original one that we had. Now we do have two designated parking areas.
Well, it also kind of outlines what we expect them to do.
Right. I feel like, and I'm not your attorney, but I worked with him very hard on this and we talked a lot. I feel like what you have here does not obligate you or put you in any different legal standing or liability standing than if you had just passed a brand new SUP for. So that's what you've got. You've got the language for the SUP.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have, except, yeah, that's all I have. Yes, sir. Unless you have some questions.
Mr. Lane?
I just had a quick announcement, and it goes to the election of the chairman and the vice chairman of the board. I think we'll do that. It has to be after the second Tuesday of November, and I think the 17th is our next meeting. That would be I believe, is that right? The 17th?
Yes, sir.
Yes, and so that should be an agenda item. We turn it over to the clerk. He asks for nominations for the chairman and the vice chair. I just wanted to remind everybody so it didn't slip up on us.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chair, we have a 4:30 time certain with, budget amendments. I'll let Mr. Romans take over.
Richard Romans, Finance Director. We have 6 resolutions. We cover, budget shortfall. Most of them, some of them are anticipated revenue. The first one is resolution 2025-35. A resolution of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners amending the state law enforcement trust fund budget. This amendment increases the budget for expenditures for the sheriff deputy body cameras. Increased budget is recognized through the use of reserves for funding and establishing an effective date. This is coming from 2 funds that we're going to use here that are restricted. They are funded forfeiture funds. That's the board is responsible.
This is when Officer Douglas came and presented to the board.
Yeah. Correct.
I make a
The
motion.
amount is, for it to increase is $10,000, and it will come from reserves. And this will cover the expenditures in total for that, for this fund.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-35.
Second. Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve resolution 2025-35. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Sure, just as a note for both of these items as well, this is money that's funded through fines and fees. And we had the funds in there, but we had not budgeted for the amount of the purchases that were requested. So that's the reason for the budget amendments.
Right. And the second one is also from the Federal Law Enforcement Trust Fund. Several years ago, the state required the budget. This one used to be managed by the sheriff's office. It was mandated that it would be under the Board of County Commissioners, just like the other state forfeiture funds. This one is only the Federal Law Enforcement Trust Fund. This one is resolution 2025-36, a resolution of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners amending the Federal Law Enforcement Trust Fund budget. The amendment increases the budget for expenditures for the sheriff's automated license plate reader camera. Increased budget is recognized say these funds are very highly restricted on the type of things that you can spend for this. So this is not something that is a usual item that you would see during a budget process.
But these cameras qualify for that.
Yeah, they do.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-36.
Okay,
We also need approval for the budget amendment or the, budget entry.
It's $2,500.
okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion for Commissioner Thomas and a second for Commissioner Martin to approve resolution 2025-36. Budget amendment in the amount of $2,500.
And budget entry, B 25-012.
And budget entry BE 25-012. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Okay, the next one is resolution 2025-37. This is a shift of budget amendment just for $5,000 because shift spent a little bit more than what we actually put in the budget, which is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
So, a resolution of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners amending the State Housing Initiative Program Fund budget, shift. This amendment increases the budget for expenditures for grants and aids and down payment assistance. The increased budget is recognized through the use of reserves for funding and establishing an effective date. The amount is $5,000. We also have BE 25-13 as amendment for the budget entry.
Okay,
I move to, approve, resolution 2025-37 with, budget entry 25-013.
Second.
we have a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve resolution 2025-37 and budget entry 25-013 in amount of $5,000. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
And Mr. Roman, so all of these are, we've discussed before, and this is a formal formality basically with the budget process of
Yeah.
amending it. The state requires us to do that, right?
Right, because the budget did not contain these expenditures. You cannot overextend what you're appropriate. So all these budget amendments pretty much do that. Okay, resolution 2025-38, a resolution of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners amending the Transportation Fund budget, Fund 140. This amendment increases the budget for transportation expenditures exceeding the original budget. Increased budget is recognized through the use of reserves for funding. The amount here is for $545,000, and it's going to be used for reserves as well. We also have BE 25-14, which gives me the authority to change the law.
And a big part of this one was, as I remember,
The rock.
repairing the rock crusher.
Correct.
Over $300,000, forget that.
Yeah, motion to approve resolution 2025-38 and budget entry 25-014.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Martin to approve resolution 2025-38 and budget entry 25-014 in amount of $545,000. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Okay, the next one is for resolution 2025-39. This is unanticipated revenues are being used to balance this budget. In total, let me read it by title only. The resolution of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners amending the Emergency Medical Services Fund budget, Fund 410. This amendment increases the budget for EMS expenditures exceeding the original budget. Increased budget is recognized through the use of unanticipated revenues for funding. That came through ambulance fees, and the amount was $894,000. We also had a budget amendment, BE 25-015.
I like that unanticipated revenue.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-39, budget entry 25-015.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Thomas to approve resolution 2025-39 and budget entry 25015, and seconded by Commissioner Bill Martin. Any discussion? $894,000. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Yeah, the final budget amendment is resolution 2025-40. I'll read it by title only. A resolution of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners amending the E911 fund budget, Fund 19. This amendment increases the budget for E911 expenditures exceeding the original budget. Increased budget is recognized through the use of reserve and establishing an effective date. The amount of this is $50,000. Again, we have BE 25-16-016.
This used to update the 911 or just to keep it at?
It's probably to maintain it, update it.
Okay.
But, many times we won't get a bill for this, for E911 until November, sometimes December, and it'll relate back into last year. So I'm required that if it's dated for work that is made, during the fiscal year, I have to record it in that system.
Okay. I'll move to, approve, resolution 2025-40. And, budget entry 25-016.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Martin and a second by Commissioner Thomas to approve resolution 2025-40 in the amount of $50,000 and budget entry 2025-016 in the amount of $50,000 for the budget entry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
That's all I have.
Is that all our current citizens?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, back to you.
Mr. Lang, the item about the elections, was that the item you were referring to?
Yes.
Thank you. So first item is a budget recap. This is the budget recap through September 30th with all expenditures to date. In other words, we've tried to accumulate any expenditures and revenues that have come in past the end of the fiscal year that are for 2025 expenditures and revenues. So first item is the general fund. In the general fund for last year, we've had year-to-date expenditures of $28,207,000 on revenues of $25,879,000. Now, if you recall, for last year, we had budgeted a transfer of $3.5 million for the solid waste project to the capital fund. And so that is the primary reason for the expenditures exceeding our revenues. Within fire, we had year-to-date expenditures of $1,389,000 on revenues of $1,731,000. I'm gonna skip on down to EMS. In EMS, year-to-date expenditures, $2,709,000 on revenues of $3,198,000. You may recall that earlier or late in the last year, we were discussing personnel expenditures for fire and EMS. And originally we had budgeted a certain number of positions that were going to be 50-50, whereas in the hiring process, we were not able to get staffing that were 100 or that were 50-50 fire and EMS. They ended up being 100% funded out of EMS. So our expenditures ended up being lower in fire and higher for personnel in EMS. So that was part of the reason that we were over budget in EMS and part of the reason that we're under budget in the fire department. So again, that's the reason for the numbers looking the way they do. Again, though, as we just had with the budget amendment within EMS, you see that our revenues actually did exceed what we had originally budgeted for within EMS. Moving back up to transportation, we see year-to-date expenditures of $3,232,000 on revenues of just under $3 million. Again, the reason for our need for doing the budget amendments that we just, the board just passed. Moving down to solid waste, we had year-to-date expenditures of $1,189,000 on revenues of $1,386,000. Does anyone have any questions on any of those? If not, we'll move on to this fiscal year. Not a lot has, we're not very far in. This is through October 27th, so not even quite a month. But you see, in general, we've had year-to-date expenditures of $4,113,000 on a whopping revenue of $124,000. When we're doing budgeting, we always talk about our need for reserves for fund balance. This is the reason. If you don't have the money to start out your year, then you're going to have to borrow money to get the year started out. And so we're very fortunate that we have the funds that we're able to float this until the revenues start coming in. As you know, our tax system as it sits, which as we all have discussed, could change in the next year or so. Our revenues start coming in late November, trickling, a little bit in December, and then January is when you really start to see your revenues. And so we have to have funds available to be able to fund our operations until those revenues do start coming in.
If our fund balance was zero, we'd be borrowing money to pay bills.
That's correct.
That's right.
Which 20 years ago, we actually did.
I know.
So it's a better position to be in. You don't have extra expenses just to be able to operate.
Just today, which is not reflected here, you approved over $1 million worth of payables that will hit that $4 million line that you approved today. So those checks will be cut within the next 4 or 5 days. That'll hit this line.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gives you an idea. And we've got several projects going. Fortunately, tax bill just went out.
Yeah.
Fortunately and unfortunately.
Yes. Moving on to fire, we've had year-to-date expenditures of just at $46,000 with no revenue. Transportation, right at $78,000 in expenditures with no revenue. SHIP, we've had right at $102,000 in expenditures and no revenue. In EMS, we've had right at a little over $125,000 in expenditures with revenues of around $68,000. And in solid waste, we've had year-to-date expenditures of almost $31,000 with no revenues year-to-date. Any more questions on that? With that, that concludes my report.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll go to our commission reports. Commissioner Shannon's not here. Let's certainly keep her in our minds and in our prayers. And I'll go with Mr. Martin on District 2.
Everything's been pretty good for me. I'm glad to see, the little bit of rain we got here and there, and it's been pretty quiet, in my district, so, I'm good with that. I did mention to Mr. Crosby a concern I have about, a road. It's the Weeks Road.
Southeast 90.
Sharon.
Sharon. It's a great road. Oh man, I'm gonna tell you, it's a fantastic road, except at night, there's no lines on the road. Now, he said the reason we left lines off is it's a very narrow road. I didn't know if we wanted to consider just putting a line down the middle of it, because when you hit traffic at night on that black road, you have nothing to judge where you're, you know, when a car passes you and their bright lights are on, you can glance down and see the white line that tells you you're on the road or off the road. It's just a very, I don't know if we're gonna do anything right now, but I thought a line down the middle might at least give you some point of reference when you come up against another vehicle that's got bright lights on. So I just want to put it out there.
If we do when we do some chip and seal, Bobby, will they do any type of walk down the middle of the road? No?
Okay, I didn't know that.
We didn't put the lighting on it, cause
It's very
they
narrow
didn't
road.
recommend,
Okay.
I forget who it was.
Lee Mills. But that road was so narrow that they didn't put the white lines, because it's afraid it would force two cars maybe together. And then they decided not to put the one that he recommended, not to put the one down the center. Then that way people wouldn't feel like they had to hug the line, and hopefully would pay attention to each other when they, approach each other. But I do understand what you're saying. It's with the glare of lights a lot of times.
And that was it. I drove a bus down that road, 3 times last week. There's not a lot of traffic on that road, so it's not a problem, but the 2 or 3 cars I did pass, and their light, the glare was so bright, it was difficult to gauge where I was on the road. And I mean, we managed, we didn't run into each other, and I didn't run off and hit a tree, but I just,
You don't have a guideline.
you don't have a guideline to go by when you're on
Like,
that road.
like the one on the outside, when you see that one on the outside, you don't go past that.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to guide you there.
If it's raining, it makes.
And if it's raining, it's even worse, because then that black asphalt is very difficult to determine where the edge of it is and where it isn't. During the day, it's absolutely no problem.
Yeah.
Just at night that it was giving us a bit, and I didn't know if you could put those little reflector lights down the middle, or a white line down the middle or something, or.
I'll get a
maybe it's better to not do
I'll get a
that.
quote on the center strike.
If it's possible, I just think it would,
What's the speed limit for that road?
it's not,
I would say 35 if it's posted. I don't know if it's.
I drove it last week and I don't remember, but I don't remember seeing it
55,
posted,
no.
but it's a really great smooth road. I mean,
No, careful, you'll be driving way too fast.
yeah, you can drive too fast on it because it's a nice smooth road, but at night, when it was dark outside, it was difficult to judge where.
You wouldn't been going over the speed limit in school.
No, I would never do that, never do that.
We shared that road with Lockport County.
Yeah, that's the county line road.
No, sir. We don't share that road with Lockport County anymore. But we take care of this road, and then they've got the dirt road on the other. So we got the better end of that deal, so I don't wanna.
Yeah.
They took the northeast.
But
Yeah,
when
they got-
we
they got the one that
did,
has to be
when we,
graded.
when we did fix it, we did share the cost with Lockport
Yeah.
County. Actually, they wound up paying more than we did, but they helped us with that. And it's a good road. It's held up good.
Oh, it's a wonderful road. It's just,
Well, you had the slag, and then the last paving was a FDOT project that put the,
Yeah.
virgin asphalt on top of
Yeah.
the slag.
Yeah. Yeah, it started out with Miller. Okay, is that all, sir?
other than that, everything's been great.
Okay, Mr. Smith?
So back to the chip and seal, I should have asked this when we were discussing that item, but as I remember, we asked for qualifications or bid that out to a certain company, and so there's standards in there for that chip and seal. Is there thickness on, we're gonna help put down the lime rock.
We'll do the prep of the road. If any lime rock's needed, we'll put all that in. We'll do the prep and shaping. And then they'll come in and do the tacking, all of the rock. There's 2 types of chip and seal. There's a single and a double. We use the double. What that means is basically if there's a larger rock put down, then there's a smaller rock put down on that rock, after it's tacked, to kind of fill those so you get a smoother ride. And then they'll come in and do a fog seal. They'll let it settle a little while before they actually do the fog seal, but then they come back and do a fog seal on it and seal the road. So
Okay.
I can't tell you what the actual thickness is. I know that you got larger rock on bottom, but you'll have a real good base, and that's what you need, is a good base.
Yeah, and what I remember kind of related to that is being able to handle the heavy agricultural equipment, for example. Having a good base is gonna provide, what we need.
Right, well, you gotta remember, when they put virgin asphalt down, usually it's 1.5 inches.
Yeah.
So it's not 4 inches of asphalt, it's 1.5 inches of usually. Occasionally they will go 2 inches in certain areas, but most of the time it's 1.5 inches. Just, a lot of it's got to do with the cost of the asphalt.
I listened in on a small county coalition meeting last week, and they're getting ready for the legislative meeting in, Tampa coming up in a couple of weeks that I'll be going to, and, we'll be discussing what priorities are for their agenda at the legislative level. But one of the main things concern is related to the potential loss of, property tax. The governor's proposed, suggesting, and the legislature is considering, putting on the ballot, which none of us want to pay, our more property tax, or we want to pay less. And, but the concern is, with us, that's about, 12 million.
It's 12.7 million this year.
And our operating budget is, in 24, was around 20 million. And so what their suggestion is, and I think it's good, I don't think we want to get crossed up with the governor or the legislature, because they've both been very good to us. But I think they also understand how important it is, particularly to small counties, that source of revenue and being able to provide services for our residents. And so, our priority is in law enforcement, public safety, and transportation. Really, 70% of our budget goes to those three areas. And so when you talk about losing some of that revenue, then there's a concern about losing, funds for those priorities. And so one of the suggestions was having a one-page kind of summary that we could provide to our residents on, where our funds are expended and where our revenues come from, just so people understand that. And I don't know if you guys agree. I'd like to work with, if you, Todd and Richard, maybe we could put something together based on some other counties, and if y'all agree, we could do that.
Yeah, I went to, Gilchrist County's, function they had last Saturday night, not this past Saturday, but Saturday before. And Blaise Angoli was there, which is now the CFO for the state of Florida. He's been appointed by the governor to be the chief financial officer. And, he talked about the property taxes. The governor's plan is to, do away with property taxes for anybody on homestead property. So if it's not homesteaded, you'd still pay the property taxes, but his goal is no property taxes on homestead property. That's his goal. Now, the House has come up with about 8 different proposals. And what they're doing is they're trying to give people choices. Chad Johnson, our state representative, was at the REC meeting last Monday night, and he discussed this pretty much. Matter of fact, he went over all 8 of the proposals. The Senate hasn't posed anything yet. They haven't done nothing, but the House has done those. One of them is, tax exempt for people over 65. One of them's this, one of them's that. It just goes in, which I think is going to be confusing if they don't narrow it down.
Mr. Chair, if I could also clarify, we keep hearing like tax exempt for over 65, but the question is, my understanding is the schools are held harmless.
Right.
And so they're saying eliminating property taxes, but they're not. Okay, so I mean, I think there needs to be, they're clarifying, what are you actually saying?
Yeah.
And also, like for counties, how are they going to cover the difference?
Well, this is what Mr. Blaise Angoli said in front of 500 people. Small counties, physically constrained counties, will not miss a beat. He said, you will not suffer the consequences. You will be taken care of. Now,
Well,
those
and
are his words.
those are his words and he's not a legislator.
And they ain't even a proposal on the ballot yet, so, I mean, that's what he was saying, okay?
And-
But he
and-
said he's working with the governor, and now, here's the key, I think, and this is what I told both of them, this is what I told both of them. You're gonna have to have a proposal that'll work, first of all. Then you gotta educate the public on how it's gonna work. Because if you say no property taxes, everybody in the world's gonna vote for it. Now, what was brought up was the net ban. People voted for the net ban, they didn't know what a net was.
Mhm,
It put the fishermen out of business.
correct.
Okay, they voted for the faro pens for the sows. They put the hog farmer out of business because they didn't know what they was voting for. Minimum wage, same thing. Okay, so if they don't put it on the ballot and they don't get it right, we could be in a world of trouble. That's what I keep in mind. If you're gonna put it on the ballot, it has to be explained exactly how it's gonna work.
See, but
And it has
that's,
to be, and
that's
how
the
it's gonna work
fear.
for Gilchrist County.
But that's the fear is the state just wants to pass this. And so,
Let us figure out.
yeah, so the education is gonna have to come from somewhere else because they're
Like Greg
okay.
said, from us.
Yeah, they're okay if they have the public believing that, yes, this is gonna eliminate your property taxes. But then after the fact, they realize, what did I vote for? That's not what I voted for. I voted to eliminate my property tax. And realize that, no, I didn't do that. And but also, you know, they talk about they're gonna hold the schools harmless.
Yeah.
They're gonna hold law enforcement harmless.
Yeah.
But how do you do that exactly?
Yeah, there can't be any
Because-
reduction in law enforcement services under those provisions, and at least 6 of those proposed bills you're talking about.
Well, in, 2 weeks ago, I was at conference and we had a legislator speaking to us that's over the committee that's discussing this. And I explained to him that our ad valorem is $12.7 million. Our constitutional officers, all of them combined, is $12.4 million. Of that, 75%, what do you think it goes to? Law enforcement. And so if you eliminate, half of our ad valorem, for instance, by, let's just say half of it, I don't know the number, but let's just say you eliminate half of our ad valorem due to, eliminating homestead, doing the over 65, whatever the provision is. Let's just say that 12.7 gets cut in half. Well, how do you how do you continue to fund the law enforcement? There has to be a provision that they cover and, maybe the state does. But what about whenever, 5 years down the road and the state doesn't have the money anymore? And now they say, well, we were planning to hold you guys harmless, but 5 years ago, things were different.
Yeah.
We can't do that anymore.
And that was the other concern is if you put the state legislature in charge of the money pot
Mhm.
and you get in a bind, it'll be up to them to get you out of that bind or not get you out of that bind. So that's gonna be another fear right there. Because they were talking about a statewide sales tax, putting all money in a big pot, but then Tallahassee controls that pot, and they say, well, Gilchrist County, you're doing pretty good, but you're gonna have to do without a little bit for a while. I mean, and plus it would work off the economy was good, you got a lot of sales tax, economy bad, you don't have the sales tax, how do you make up the difference? So there's still a lot of unknowns out there, but they are, making some proposals, the House is, the Senate hasn't done anything yet, but, the CFO said all this fear about not being able to fund the fire department, he said that's baloney. Don't listen to it. Don't believe it because it ain't gonna happen. But that's not him speaking. Whether he's speaking out of turn or not, I don't know.
Well,
That's him speaking.
President Bush, a number of years back,
Yeah, Yeah.
went on a, read my lips, no new taxes. Well, then he couldn't back that up.
I know.
And so my fear is that you have a politician that's banking on something that he can't back up. And potentially he's not gonna be there whenever it comes to fruition, so it's not gonna matter to him.
It's gonna have to be done and done right, or it could be chaos.
Yeah, there's a lot we're not gonna have any control over, but one thing we can do is put something together that just kind of summarizes how we're spending money and people can understand that a little better. If you look at the report that the state association put together, we're number 61 out of 67 counties for the revenue we raise in taxes. So we're well down. I mean, we want to do the best we can. We want to, and we have. We were lowering millage rates for the last 4 or 5 years. But when you look at the rest of the counties, we're number 61 out of 67 in revenue raised from taxes. And so we gotta keep working to do that, but if you guys are okay, we'll work together on a one pager that kind of provides some information.
Yeah.
And that's all I have. Mr. Chairman.
Or is that something that we need to be working towards for, the session or something sooner?
They're meeting in committees already. I mean, for them, I'm thinking more for our residents. We can put it online so people can see it. You know, if you go to our website and look at our budget, there's some graphs already you guys have put together and they're good. I just think there's some probably a little bit more information we could add to that, and that'd be a one pager.
Sounds good. One other thing that Blaze talked about was the Doge thing for the state of Florida. They so far have found $1.2 billion in wasted funds. And he gave some examples, and it ain't good. But my question was, they found it, but what are they gonna do about it? In other words, one city had hired a poet writer to write poets for them, and they're using tax dollars to do it. So if they don't want them to use tax dollars to hire a poet writer, are they gonna make them pay the money back, or what are they gonna do? Cut it off? I mean, what do you do? So, anyway, he said they were still looking, and they're just getting started, so I guess that's a good thing too. Okay, Commissioner Thomas? Nothing? Okay, I'm glad we discussed that, because I was gonna bring it up too. Veterans Day is November the 11th.
The parade? Yes, we will start at the, elementary school. Lineup starts at 9 o'clock, it's Trenton Elementary, and, parade begins at 10.
I will be out of town. Sorry that I missed it, but I'm supposed to leave Friday to go Kentucky for a week, so I won't be there Monday.
All right, so thank you for letting us know.
I'll be out of town. I've already told Karen and whoever that if they need something, call Bill.
And that's at 11.
Yes,
Okay.
actually, it's Monday. 138 is coming along good. They've got it milled. Somewhat. They milled one lane, but the corners that they put that tack on, they skipping the corners. They don't have them milled at all, neither side. And then they turned around at 47 and going back the other way. And they're skipping the corners for some reason for now. I don't know why, but they've got the widening. I've never seen them do this. I guess it's a new way of doing it, but the milling machine actually kicks some of that milling out, and they're gonna use it, I guess, for a base for that extension on the shoulders.
They've done that on several roads that
Have
we've
they?
widened. Yeah.
Used to do lime rock. I mean, dig it down and put lime rock, but I guess they got this big old roller that packs it, you know? But it's pretty neat the way they're doing it, but, they've got it milled on both sides except the corners. So I guess they're getting ready to start putting some asphalt down. But, looking good. All right, that's all I have. Anybody got anything else? Public participation. If you want to address the board, now's the opportunity. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I got one thing.
Okay.
On December the 21st, you remember how they had the prayer on the lawn at the courthouse?
Mhm.
They're wanting to do a Christmas story and traditional carols on the lawn from 6 to 8. Is that permissible? Everybody okay with that?
What's the date
I
again?
think that's great.
December 21st.
It's a Sunday.
That's be the Sunday before Christmas. I believe that's the way that works out.
Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, you said something about them digging the time capsule, did they find it?
Yes, sir, we did find it.
Did they open it?
No, sir, we did not open it.
They were afraid to. It was in a military canister.
Said weapons and artillery on it.
It really was. I'm not kidding about that.
Remember when they buried it?
The plans are, I have heard, that the, committee, Centennial Committee may have something on December the 4th. So if they do, we thought we'd try to advertise, and it would be open where anybody who wants to come can see it be open. So it wouldn't be open until then. we did want to go ahead and try to find it because we didn't want that day to get here and we're out here, look like gophers in the, all in the courthouse lawn. But we got lucky, found it, they found it on the first try, so, yeah.
Money must know where it was.
He wrapped up in the.
He told me, that's it. I went by his directions, go out the front door, and the front door of the courthouse faces the grocery store. This is not the front door, that's the front door. And so went out, there used to be 2 palm trees. The one it was by is not there any longer, but it was right. We found
They
it.
also had a metal detector.
Yeah. You can't tell everything.
You make it sound
I
so
had some
easy.
witching rods out there.
Mr. Lowell, state your name for the record and
Oh, that's I'll tell you up front, don't take this too seriously. I'm amused by all the, concerns about taking away the property tax. I've heard it in various organizations. I heard it last week in the Rotary Club here. I heard it today. And various people here and there. I think it's all pretty funny because there's no way in the world to replace that much money with anything else. It just can't happen. I think what's happened is someone brought it up. I don't know if the governor was first or whoever it was. And every politician wants to jump on it and get his 2 cents worth and get his publicity. But it simply isn't possible. Damon said that Gilchrist County would have to raise sales tax 6% to cover it. So we'd go from 7 to 13. I think that's a little impractical. Plus the fact that every county would be different. Every county would have to have their tax rate. Well, then we'd be running across county lines to buy stuff, pick the lowest county, right? I think my guess is, and I'm just speculating, in the end, some little tweak will take place so they can say we did this and the legislators can all go home. But the whole thing, as far as I'm concerned, is a farce. Thank you.
Thank you.
100% correct.
anybody else?
We'll adjourn.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say